What if I told you that the most crucial part of selling a property actually happens way before you even start talking about price? Seriously. It's not about the flashiest marketing or some killer negotiation tactic. It's all about building a rock-solid foundation of facts. So today, we're going to tear down and deconstruct the official Property Information Survey, the one defined by Mexico's EC0110.02 standard. And you'll see exactly why getting this part right, well, it's just not optional.
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the professional standard that's the backbone of all of this. Then we'll dive into why this survey is the absolute bedrock for any real valuation. After that, we'll cover why you have to do a physical visit, no exceptions. We'll even walk through the essential checklist item by item. And finally, we'll wrap up with how to present all your hard work like the pro you are.
Okay, first things first, let's get one thing straight. What we're talking about here isn't just some friendly advice or a list of best practices. Nope, this is the official benchmark. This is what separates the true professionals from the amateurs in Mexico's real estate world. And following this standard, it protects you, it protects your client, and frankly, it protects the integrity of the whole deal. And this standard didn't just appear out of thin air. It's backed by some serious official authority. You're looking at the big players right here. CONOCER, which is part of Mexico's Ministry of Public Education, and ICME Mexico, a major certification body. These are the folks who literally set the rules and define what it means to be a competent professional in this industry. So the standard we're zoning in on today is EC0110.02. The easiest way to think about it? It's the official rulebook for advising on the commercialization of real estate. And sticking to it, it goes way beyond just doing a good job. It's about showing you meet a nationally recognized standard of quality. And that, my friends, is how you build real trust with your clients. All right, so we've covered the who and the what. Now let's get to the really important part, the why. Why is this survey so unbelievably critical? Well, it's simple. You can't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation, right? Same thing here. You just can't create a strong, defensible property valuation with weak or incomplete information. Look, a professional price isn't just a number you guess or pull out of thin air. It's not about your gut feeling or a quick opinion. It's the final product of a really rigorous step-by-step process. And that process always starts with gathering cold, hard facts. And the standard itself lays out the workflow perfectly. It couldn't be clearer. Step 1 is P3. That's the Property Information Survey we're talking about. It's the mandatory first step. Only when P3 is done, and I mean completely done, can you even think about moving on to P4, which is the Commercial Value Estimate. You can't have one without the other. It's not a suggestion. It's the required order of operations. Okay, this leads us to a part of the P3 process that is absolutely non-negotiable. I'm talking about the physical visit. Getting your boots on the ground, getting out from behind that desk, and actually walking the property yourself. So let me just ask you this. Do you really think you can get all the essential info you need just by looking at some pretty photos online or scrolling through public records? Can you do this job right from the comfort of your office chair? Well, the official standard has a pretty blunt answer to that question. And here it is, straight from the horse's mouth, the official evaluation document. It says you have to be, and I quote, verifying and registering the physical conditions and basic required features that the property presents by means of a tour. The language here is crystal clear. A tour is not a nice-to-have, it's a must-have. It's a requirement. So here's the bottom line. The standard is absolute on this. You have to do a physical walkthrough. It's the only way to truly verify a property's real condition, its features, its state of conservation, and all those little details that photos and paperwork will just never, ever show you. All right, so you're there. You're on site, clipboard in hand, ready to do the survey. Now what? What exactly are you supposed to be looking for and writing down? Well, the standard gives us a super specific checklist of mandatory info. Let's break it down right now. First up, we've got the basics, identification and condition. You got to have the owner's full name. That's for legal clarity. The complete property address, obviously, to know exactly where it is. Then you need the age of the construction, because that's a huge factor in value and what might need fixing. And finally, and this is a big one, your professional take on its state of conservation. Okay, next we get into the real physical nuts and bolts of the place. We're talking the exact square meters for both the land and the building itself. A good description of the layout, the floor plan, what materials were used to build it, and of course, a detailed list of all the finishes and any general equipment that's included. Trust me, every single one of these things plays a role in that final price.
And last but not least, the survey has to look beyond just the property line. You need to document any special installations, things like solar panels, a fancy security system, that kind of stuff. But you also have to look at the infrastructure of the whole area and the level of urbanization. This is what gives you the full picture, the context for the property's value right there in its neighborhood.
So, collecting all that data, that's half the battle. But the other half, and under the EC0110.02 standard is just as important, is how you present it, the way you finalize your report. Well, formality and professionalism are absolutely key. And this really shows the night and day difference, doesn't it? The amateur approach, maybe some messy notes, a scattered email with a few facts, but the professional standard? It's super specific. It says your survey must be a formal digital document. Think something like an Excel sheet. And this is critical. It has to be presented on your official company or independent advisor letterhead. No exceptions. At the end of the day, this is about so much more than just a piece of paper or a file. It's about your credibility. The way you package and present this fundamental information, it speaks volumes about your expertise, your attention to detail, and frankly, your respect for the profession itself.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you put together a property survey, stop and ask yourself, is this report a solid professional foundation that's going to lead to a great sale? Or is it the very first crack in that foundation, the first mistake in a process that absolutely demands perfection? The choice and the standard to follow is pretty clear.